usoni mwangu, wandani wangu wote wameniacha. Sina wa kutegemea ila Mungu, yeye pekee anirehemu. Giza nene limetanda usoni mwangu, wandani wangu wote wameniacha. Sina wa kutegemea ila Mungu, yeye pekee anirehemu. Mambo yasiyo na mwisho, siku moja Bwana atanijibu. Naweka tumaini kwake Yesu, hakuna yasiyo na mwisho. Mungu wangu ataniinua. Mambo yasiyo na mwisho, siku moja Bwana atanijibu. Naweka tumaini kwake Yesu, hakuna yasiyo na mwisho. Mungu wangu ataniinua. Mambo yasiyo na mwisho, siku moja Bwana atanijibu. Naweka tumaini kwake Yesu, hakuna yasiyo na mwisho. Mungu wangu ataniinua. Mambo yasiyo na mwisho, siku moja Bwana atanijibu. Naweka tumaini kwake Yesu, hakuna yasiyo na mwisho. Mungu wangu ataniinua. Mambo yasiyo na mwisho, siku moja Bwana atanijibu. Naweka tumaini kwake Yesu, hakuna yasiyo na mwisho. Mungu wangu ataniinua. Bwana Mungu akamwambia Yoshua, tazama mji huu wa Yeriko nimeutia mikononi mwako. Waambie wana wa Israeli, vita hii watapigana bila silaha. Wasibebe mikuki wala ngao, bali watwae tarumbeta zao. Wauzunguke mji mara 7. Walizunguka mara ya kwanza, wakazunguka mara ya pili, mara ya 3, ya 4, ya 5 na ya 6, na mara ya 7 wakapiga tarumbeta na kushangilia. Kuta za Yeriko zikaanguka, nao wakamte zilimfikia Mwokozi alipokuwa kule Bethania. Yapo marafiki yako Lazaro anaugua sana sana. Usiwe na hofu, Bwana yuaja, kwani mwalimu wetu hajakawia. Kitambo tu kidogo, mapenzi yake Mungu yatatimizwa kwetu. Habari zilimfikia Mwokozi alipokuwa kule Bethania. Yapo marafiki yako Lazaro anaugua sana sana. Usiwe na hofu, Bwana yuaja, kwani mwalimu wetu hajakawia. Kitambo tu kidogo, mapenzi yake Mungu yatatimizwa kwetu. Ndani yake ni uzima wa milele. alipofika kwenye kaburi, Lazaro alipata uzima. Yeye kainuka na kutembea, furaha ilitanda kote. Inukeni toka vita vya dhambi, tembea katika utukufu wake. Enende kama yule aliyefufuliwa katika jina lake Yesu. Yesu alipofika kwenye kaburi, Lazaro alipata uzima. Yeye kainuka na kutembea, furaha ilitanda kote. Inukeni toka vita vya dhambi, tembea katika utukufu wake. Enende kama yule aliyefufuliwa katika jina lake Yesu. Ndani yake ni uzima wa milele. Usiogope, usihuzunike ndugu yangu. Tegemea Bwana kwa haki na kweli, na kwako atatenda kile ni bora zaidi. Ndani yake ni uzima wa milele. Usiogope, usihuzunike ndugu yangu. Tegemea Bwana kwa haki na kweli, na kwako atatenda kile ni bora zaidi. Ndani yake ni uzima wa milele. Usiogope, usihuzunike ndugu yangu. Tegemea Bwana kwa haki na kweli, na kwako atatenda kile ni bora zaidi. Ndani yake ni uzima wa milele. Usiogope, usihuzunike ndugu yangu. Tegemea Bwana kwa haki na kweli, na kwako atatenda kile ni bora zaidi. Imani kama ya mitume na manabii, imani ile isiyo na mashaka, isiyoyumbishwa, ile iloweza ponya hata wagonjwa, mapepo yakatoweka. Imani isiyoyumbishwa, hakuna chochote kitashindikana katika imani isiyoyumbishwa, hakuna chochote kitashindikana katika imani. Kwa imani Ibrahimu alikwenda asipokujua ugenini. Kwa imani hata Enoko alitembea na Mungu siku zote. Musa alikataa kuitwa mwana wa binti Farao kwa imani. Bwana nipe imani kama hiyo, ijapo kidogo kama punje ya haradali. Niyatende yaliyo makuu, kiasi cha kuhamisha milima. Kwa imani Ibrahimu alikwenda asipokujua ugenini. Kwa imani hata Enoko alitembea na Mungu siku zote. Musa alikataa kuitwa mwana wa binti Farao kwa imani. Bwana nipe imani kama hiyo, ijapo kidogo kama punje ya haradali. Niyatende yaliyo makuu, kiasi cha kuhamisha milima. Anapojaribu kukupepeta utamshinda katika imani. Kama Yesu alivyomshinda shetani, atakushindia. Dumu kuomba imani isitindike, ushindi ni wa hakika. Imani hakuna chochote kitashindikana katika imani. Imani isiyoyumbishwa, hakuna chochote kitashindikana katika imani. Kwa imani Ibrahimu alikwenda asipokujua ugenini. Kwa imani hata Enoko alitembea na Mungu siku zote. Musa alikataa kuitwa mwana wa binti Farao kwa imani. Bwana nipe imani kama hiyo, ijapo kidogo kama punje ya haradali. Niyatende yaliyo makuu kiasi cha kuhamisha milima. Kwa imani Ibrahimu alikwenda asipokujua ugenini. Kwa imani hata Enoko alitembea na Mungu siku zote. Musa alikataa kuitwa mwana wa binti Farao kwa imani. Bwana nipe imani kama hiyo, ijapo kidogo kama punje ya haradali. Niyatende yaliyo makuu kiasi cha kuhamisha milima. Kwa imani Ibrahimu alikwenda asipokujua ugenini. Kwa imani hata Enoko alitembea na Mungu siku zote. Musa alikataa kuitwa mwana wa binti Farao kwa imani. Bwana nipe imani kama hiyo, ijapo kidogo kama punje ya haradali. Niyatende yaliyo makuu kiasi cha kuhamisha milima. Kwa imani Ibrahimu alikwenda asipokujua ugenini. Kwa imani hata Enoko alitembea na Mungu siku zote. Musa alikataa kuitwa mwana wa binti Farao kwa imani. Bwana nipe imani kama hiyo, ijapo kidogo kama punje ya haradali. Niyatende yaliyo makuu kiasi cha kuhamisha milima. Siku zote Joni tumwimbie, tumfanyie shangwe mwamba wa wokovu wetu. Tuje mbele zake kwa furaha, tumfanyie shangwe kwa zaburi wako. Yeye ni Mungu mkuu, mfalme mkuu juu ya miungu yote. Sifa na utukufu ni vyako, uhimidiwe Bwana siku zote. Pigeni kelele kwa nguvu zako, inuka simama, tembea kwa ujasiri, mwimbie Mungu wako. Wewe kabla hazijaja siku zilizo mbaya, utakaposema mimi sina nguvu wala furaha ya kulihubiri neno lake Mungu. Kabla ya jua na nuru, nyota, mwezi havijatiwa giza, kabla ya kurudi kwake Bwana, mwimbieni Bwana kungali nafasi. Mwimbieni Bwana kwa kinubi na kwa sauti ya baragumu. kurudi kwake Bwana. Mwimbieni Bwana kungali nafasi. Tukifika juu mbinguni, tutaimba nyimbo za furaha. Sote tulio hapa duniani, tutaungana tuwe kundi moja. Wimbo wa msana Mwana Kondoo, mbinguni juu tutaimba kweli. Yesu akiwa mwalimu wetu, waimbaji jambeni tusikose pale. Mwambie Bwana, pigeni kelele kwa nguvu zako, inuka simama tembea kwa ujasiri, mwambie Mungu wako. Wewe kabla hazijaja siku zilizo mbaya, utakaposema mimi sina nguvu wala furaha ya kulihubiri neno lake Mungu. Kabla ya jua na nuru, nyota, mwezi havijatiwa giza, kabla ya kurudi kwake Bwana. Mwimbieni Bwana kungali nafasi. Mwambie Bwana, pigeni kelele kwa nguvu zako, inuka simama tembea kwa ujasiri, mwambie Mungu wako. Wewe kabla hazijaja siku zilizo mbaya, utakaposema mimi sina nguvu wala furaha ya kulihubiri neno lake Mungu. Kabla ya jua na nuru, nyota, mwezi havijatiwa giza, kabla ya kurudi kwake Bwana. Mwimbieni Bwana kungali nafasi. Mwambie Bwana, pigeni kelele kwa nguvu zako, inuka simama tembea kwa ujasiri, mwambie Mungu wako. Wewe kabla hazijaja siku zilizo mbaya, utakaposema mimi sina nguvu wala furaha ya kulihubiri neno lake Mungu. Kabla ya jua na nuru, nyota, mwezi havijatiwa giza, kabla ya kurudi kwake Bwana. Mwimbieni Bwana kungali nafasi.
I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland, and I'm the main coordinator of the Cafe project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Ewa Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pipopa si vuguvugu. Pipopa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vilevile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Right, it is the 8th day of September 2023. This is a week that has had a lot of activities as far as climate is concerned. A lot of things have been happening right here in this country, right here in this city of Nairobi at KICC, seeing heads of states and leaders from all over the world, and most of them from Africa, coming together to make statements about what should be done as far as climate is concerned in Africa. We have a lot lined up for you tonight based on the climate stories and many others, the business, the sports, the politics, everything in this particular bulletin. But first, the highlights. Supreme Court dismisses Omtata's case on Finance Act on grounds that it was filed out of time. Raila Odinga defends Azimio move to punish rebels, says members must adhere to party rules. Processing of good conduct certificates resumes at DCI headquarters after stalling for months. And people living with hearing impairment decry discrimination on sexual and reproductive health and rights. This is KUTV Primetime News with Mutegi K. Martin. And Evelyn Langat is with us in the sign language interpretation tonight. Welcome to the broadcast. Now, the Supreme Court of Kenya has dismissed a petition by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata, which sought to challenge the High Court's verdict to lift the suspension of the implementation of the Finance Act 2023. Omtata and 3 other petitioners moved to Supreme Court after the Court of Appeal lifted orders that suspended the implementation of the Finance Act 2023 that had been issued by High Court Judge Mugure Tande on 30th June. In the ruling delivered today by Supreme Court bench led by Chief Justice Martha Koome, Omtata's case has been dismissed on grounds that it was filed out of time. Azimio leader Raila Odinga toured Migori County today, where he held a meeting with ODM delegates in the region. In a significant tour to Luo Nyanza aimed at consolidating his backyard in the face of looming party wrangles, Raila has maintained that ODM will not hesitate to take stern action on members who shift allegiance and act against party provisions.
Raila's Luo Nyanza tour began in Suna West, Migori County, where he presided over a delegate meeting with the ODM leaders from the region. The ODM boss trip comes at a time when he's cracking the whip on party rebels accused of betraying the party by shifting allegiance to the government.
Vyama vinakuwa hafifu vinafifia, basi mseto inakuwa haina nguvu zaidi. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu sana ya kwamba ODM kama nguzo ya Azimio iwe iko na nguvu. ODM must be strong as a political party. Na chama inakuwa strong namna gani? Kwanza wanachama.
At the same time, Raila Odinga has called on the members and supporters to maintain unity and spirit of cohesion as people united by common aspirations.
Pakuwe na discipline ndani ya chama. Tatu, mpaka kuwe na upendo. Wanachama wanapendana, wanasaidiana. Kama wako fulani hakuna shida, mnakwenda mnamsaidia. Mwingine mtoto yake amepata majeraha pale, mnamsaidia.
Raila's move seems as a significant step in consolidating its backyard in efforts to strengthen the party against rumbling storms of division and waning popularity.
Chama mpaka iwe chama ambayo wanachama wanaelewana vizuri. Tukitaka kufanya kitu tunasema tunafanya namna hii. Ukitaka kufanya kitu kama mwanachama mpaka ushauri na wale wenzako wengine. Wewe kujitoka tu peke yako unasema mimi naenda pande nyingine.
Among leaders who faced the wrath of recent party cleanup include Game MP Elisha Odhiambo, Suba South MP Karoli Omondi, Gideon Ochanda of Bondo, Felix Oduor of Langata, and Kisumu Senator Tom Ojenda, who were all kicked out of the party.
Kenya hii mzima Azimio ndio iko na MCS wengi zaidi, Azimio ndio iko na magavana wengi. Sasa tunataka kuona kama wanaazimio wanabaki namna hiyo. Kitu ambaye imetukera sisi, ukiona kama sasa watu wengine wanaanza kuregea, wanaanza kutoka kwa upande hii wanakwenda ngambo ile, wanakwenda kama wote ambao wanajificha.
Raila's tour is expected to head to Siaya County tomorrow before landing on Kisii on Sunday. Joseph Oyomo, KUTV.
Now, the processing of police clearance certificates, alias Certificate of Good Conduct, has been fully restored at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI headquarters following a period of disruption due to a system upgrade. According to a statement by the Director of Criminal Investigations, Mohammed Amin, the Principal Criminal Registrar's Office has taken key measures to address the backlog that emerged during the temporary system downtime, and so the unit resort to manual processing to address the dire cases. Further, Kenyans will no longer have to book fingerprint capture dates, but rather select preferred fingerprinting centers online and make visits at one's convenience. Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki today chaired a meeting at the Immigration Department's Nyayo House headquarters to review the execution of operational and policy changes implemented to address the issues of passport processing delays. Kindiki has assured Kenyans that the backlog will be cleared within 10 days.
In a bid to ensure the passport backlog is cleared, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki today held a meeting with senior officers from the Immigration Department at Nyayo House, Nairobi, where the implementation of operational and policy reforms established to resolve delayed processing of passport was reviewed. Speaking after the meeting, Kindiki noted that the enforcement of policy changes is on track, while still emphasizing that the backlog at Nyayo House will be cleared in the next 10 days. The 10-day countdown is set to clear the massive backlog of pending 40,000 plus passport applications, with deployment of day and night shifts to facilitate full capacity printing of passports and procurement of modern printing equipment. The CS further stated recruitment of additional immigration officers will help resolve the systematic challenges that have hampered service delivery. The clearance of the backlog is set to reduce the congestion of lineup that has been in your house for a while and ensure that anyone applying will be served within 30 minutes. Masiwanjero, KUTV.
Following the KDF recruitment that began on 28th of August in Busia County, hundreds of Teso North residents stand up for the KDF recruitment at Amagoro Primary School. According to officer in charge of the recruitment exercise at the center, Lieutenant Canon Kirima, the process was fair and they are expecting to get the best team from Teso North.
We started this early as early as 8 a.m. I'm so impressed by the turnout. There was a great turnout both from the eligible recruit and also the parent. I really came to like this place, and I'm hoping that at the end of the day, we are going to get the best eligible candidate to join the KDF, to serve in the KDF.
We now move to the coastal region where the Mijikenda community has invited Kenyans at large to attend the Chenda Chenda. This annual event, organized every year, will take place tomorrow on the 9th of September in Kwale County, bringing together all Mijikenda clans to celebrate their culture. However, a section of leaders have reiterated that the Mijikenda community will not allow itself to be divided by hidden agendas.
Preparations for the upcoming Mijikenda Chenda Chenda festivals are well underway as festivities are scheduled to take place this Saturday, September 9th in Kwale County.
Ni siku kuu bomu ya Mijikenda na unamwalika nyosi chenda chenda pale chenda chenda amanyana Mijikenda chenda chenda amanyana Mijikenda karibuni.
While speaking in the Magarini Cultural Center, the coordinators of the Mijikenda Kaya elders, Suman Zai, called on Kenyans and the whole world to join the elders in Kwale for the celebration meant to bring together the communities of the Mijikenda.
Na hiyo timu tumeiweka kwa sababu tumeona kuwa bila kurudi nyuma kufata mila zetu, jamii zetu zinaangamia. Hata saizi watoto wetu hawajui mila zao, heshima hata ya viongozi imepotea. Kwa hivyo tumeona kuwa tuweke hii kauli mbiu kuwa mila zetu ndio nguzo zetu.
Additionally, Mr. Sumanzai added that Mijikenda Kaya elders have important issues to address during the celebrations and give way forward to the betterment of the region at large.
Maandalizi saizi yako kabambe. Changamoto ambazo tunazipata ni kuwa kuna viongozi wengine ni kama wanataka kujaribu kuleta tofauti. Maana kuna wengine wanasema pengine isiende kule Kwale, iweze kwenda sehemu zingine kwa sababu kama Kilifi County kuna makaya 7.
On his part, Mwinyi Mwalimu, the chairperson of the Mijikenda Council of Elders, notes that the Chenda Chenda Festival brings together the Mijikenda people, as he further took the opportunity to strongly discourage the few troublemakers who attempted to disrupt this year's festivities.
Sasa kipindi hichi tumesema watu wote wa pwani watuunge mkono, tufanye sherehe Kwale. Hii mambo ya kutengana, sisi Mijikenda ndio inaleta sisi turudi nyuma. Kwa sababu wengine wanasema ifanyike Kilifi kwa sababu kuna miji 7, Kwale ina miji 2. Ikitoka miji 2 sio tena Mijikenda, ni miji 7.
About 7 Mijikenda clans are found in Kilifi County, while Kwale County has 2 clans. Last year's festival was organized in Kilifi County. Yvonne Kemuma, KUTV.
People living with hearing impairment have decried the lack of access to their sexual and reproductive health and rights, expressing their concerns after a procession organized by the Deaf Empowerment Society of Kenya in Embu Town. They have appealed to the national and county governments to train healthcare and social workers on sign language so as to break the communication barrier and improve the quality of service.
Persons living with hearing disability today express the challenges they face in regard to sexual and reproductive health matters. Speaking after holding a procession held by the Deaf Empowerment Society of Kenya through Embu Town, they noted that many of their members have been discriminated in matters sexual and reproductive health due to lack of knowledge on the deaf culture. Senior Programs Officer Charles Kinyua stated that they proposed setting up of designated health facilities with healthcare workers trained in sign language and have budgetary allocation targeted for people living with disability and involvement of the deaf in developing and implementing the health sector budget and plans.
In terms of budgetary allocations, persons with disability should have a special component of the budget that is set aside for them. In terms of the healthcare workers, we would wish and we request that the county government sets aside funds to capacity build healthcare workers and, if possible, designate health facilities that are disability and deaf friendly so that we can be able to have equity in terms of access to healthcare services.
They called for inclusion, saying they have been left out in many areas in the society.
Today, we as deaf people, we are here and we are giving our grievances to the government because the deaf people have been left out in the society, in school, in education. Most of us deaf people, we are suffering on sex and reproductive health issues.
The deaf people have gathered here in Embu Town with an aim of learning and also breaking the barriers and the challenges that we have as the deaf community. We have truly suffered. We are discriminated in the society, in different communities, and also in our families and in health facilities.
According to the Kenya Population Census of 2019, there are 153,381 deaf people in Kenya aged above 5 years, with 129,518 in rural areas compared to 23,843 in urban areas. Julie Ongaki, KUTV.
All right, that story on the need for inclusion takes us to a very fast short break right here on KTV Primetime News. But when we come back, we have an interesting conversation about the climate change action that is based on the just concluded Africa Climate Summit that happened right here in Nairobi. I'll be joined by James Kamau, who is a co-founder and chair of the Millennium Environmentalist. He'll be here to give us the cherry on top after week-long conversations here on KUTV on the Africa climate and the Africa we want in times of climate. He's here to give us what we need to go home with, our take homes, as we get to understand what we need to do, even as we put some pressure on the people who have actually been a part of the cause of the problems. We take a short break. We'll be right back in just for a bit. You don't want to miss this particular conversation. We'll be coming back to make sure you get just that.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audio-visual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4252. 4255 or SMS us on 0739 110 544. KUTV, a new experience.
They speak to play politics.
Kila mara yeye ananiwinda kama mnyama. Naambia yeye Mungu iko. Mungu iko na sitarudi nyuma.
They speak words strong enough to change policy and the law.
We have a very democratic system. We have a system that is based on the rule of law.
They speak to the heart of the nation for the nation.
Simu imeleta mambo mingi sana. Mi hata nataka ifungwe kabisa, na ifungwe hata WhatsApp na Facebook zifungwe kabisa.
When facts get lost in all these words, we aim for the truth. Join me, Dennis Omondi, every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. as I serve you the news and speak to your leaders and their observers to establish nothing but the truth, only on KUTV.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Mutegi K. Martin. Welcome back. You're still watching KUTV Primetime News, and in case you're joining us at this particular moment, every Friday we sit down to have a conversation about health and environment. And the conversation this day, the 8th day of September 2023, we're talking about the environment. We're talking about Africa Climate Summit in particular. With the take-homes, the lessons, and what we can actually continue to do now that the conference is over, so that we don't find ourselves seated in another conference a year from now, 2 years from now, and talking about the same issues. A lot of people have been put on spot and given responsibilities because of their involvement in whatever we can call climate change. And so I'm joined once again, as I informed you, by James Kamau, who is co-founder of the Millennial Environmentalist, a proper person for this particular conversation, to bring us the cherry on top so that this conversation closes down today, even as we focus on the just concluded Africa Climate Summit. Thank you so much for joining us this night. It's good to have you.
Thank you very much, Martin. It's an honor to be here. It's back home.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm a alumni of KU, so when I'm here, I feel niko nyumbani.
That's amazing. It's two of us.
Yes.
All right, let's get straight to the conversation.
Yes, sir.
We've had what I'd call a week long, because but the week started preparation of the conference, and today is just like the day of reflecting.
Yes.
And I'm glad to have you here so we can reflect together on the just concluded events that of the Africa Climate Summit of the year 2023, that was organized and of course spearheaded by our very own president. What are your take homes? What, now that this thing is over, what are the things that strike you the most?
Thank you very much for your question, Martin. The thing that stood out for me, especially the most, was the fact that Africa can unite. For the longest time, if you check our leaders, the Pan-African, even the first leaders of Africa, Kwame Nkrumah, climate change has actually brought Africa together, and we are sitting on the same table, and we are like, this is affecting all of us at the same time. Can we come together and actually tackle it together? Because we need collective consciousness and collective responsibility for us to handle what we are facing right now. And that is the takeaway from all this, is that actually Africa can unite, but then we're not fully there, because at the same time as we are uniting, there are some nations that were left behind, especially nations that fully depend on petroleum, because if you check out the degradation, we are walking away from their main source of income. So we need to bring them on board. But then at the end of the day, it was a beautiful week, beautiful show of unity with the African leadership. But then some hiccups here and there, something that we can learn and take away out of it, because we have room for improvement. That is the bottom line.
Okay.
Yes.
Allow me to escape from climate a bit. I know it involves climate, but it's more of a governance issue, and the Africa coming together as one, as you have said. And since our president came to power, we have seen him in different fora up there talking about the need for Africa to speak as one.
True.
We have seen the likes of PLO pushing for a single currency. Yet it's a journey, as you say. And in this particular conference, we've seen many African countries come together. We may not have had the full representation, but we have seen many countries come together and show us that this is actually possible. What are your feelings about this? And are you seeing a light at the end of the tunnel that Africa one day shall speak as one voice? And as you answer that, probably for some of the Africans that depend on petroleum, as you have said, how can we include them, and what is their future, and what is their stake also in this?
Thank you. Definitely, as I say, it's a very beautiful show that you are able to unite. If we can go back a little bit to the 1980s, one of the first agreement we had as Africans is that we are going to remove the fee for crossing the airspaces of each country. It has never been done. Come back to Lagos agreement on health. You remember, sometime back we said, that is the 1990s, we had said that 15% of each African nation will go to the health of the country. That has not ever been, it was never ever implemented. Now we are here. And this actually gives a good show that even the agreement we have for 2063 as African, that was supposed to, implementation was supposed to start in 2022 and end in 2032. It actually shows a good kickstart to it. And climate change being a very major factor playing in the agreement of African Vision in 2063, this start here in 2023 is awesome. For us people who are seeing the future, our only concern is how management is going to be. And you said leadership is key. The problem has never been lack of declarations, agreement, policies, innovation, ideas. The problem has always been on leadership, and that is what we need to check at most. And as our president is reading at the forefront, he's surprising a lot of people. Personally, he is surprising me, a biologist like myself, and I really pray for him and I really support him in what he's doing. But we have to be very careful, because this concern is about our life, it's about the future generation, it's about our tomorrow. So the issues that we've been seeing in our agreements before, we really need to sieve them out before we go deep into this agreement.
Amazing.
Yes.
And we shall come back to the issue of leadership, which is, I really love to talk about leadership. And a few minutes ago, before we went live, we were talking about the leadership and succession and where the millennials are and where the Gen Zs are.
Yes.
And I'm happy you're running a program, an organization that involves millennials.
Yes.
But before we go to that, this conference comes at a very crucial time of the Africa Climate Week,
yes,
which is supposed to, again, bring Africans together to talk about their home. Because when you talk about climate, we're talking about our home,
yes,
basically, and what we want to see. And different people have gone in the ground to do research and do predictions. And it's predicted that by 2050, 90% of poorest people will be in Africa.
Yes.
And when I hear about that, I think about depletion of resources, some of which are taken by stakeholders who are not by nature Africans, and yet the resources are never of much help to Africans.
Yes.
It's a heavy issue in itself. And talking about the stakeholders and how they come into play, we got to see the likes of John Kerry come into Africa Climate Summit and promise, of course, representing the President of the United States, that they would bring in billions of dollars to help to the tunes of 500 million people in the continent to be able to adapt and to deal with the climate change and the effects thereof. I see this as a case of once again, we are bringing money to avert problems that we have created.
Yes.
Is this a narrative that we see going on in the next couple of years? And what are your sentiments about that? Because the same stakeholders, allow me to call them stakeholders for the sake of this night's conversations, they bring money to Africa to rebuild what they have destroyed, and yet they continue to destroy. What is the future for Africa?
Wow, well stated, well stated. I believe in Africa, and specifically even tackling Kenya, we do not live by the code that prevention is better than cure. We actually go for the cure. We don't go for the prevention. And it can be clearly seen in whatever you've stated there. Let me not talk to the old guys, let me talk to the youth. We are 70% of Africa is made up of youth. In 2050, 90% of Africans will be poor. That is the whole youth that is already here will be poor, no matter how much money you'll have. You can have all the money you want, but then you'll be buying water at extreme prices. You can have all the money you want, but then you'll never have meat on your table, or veggies on your table, or organic kienyeji that we like. You know, we love our nyama choma, skuma, and ugali. Yeah, we have to look into that clearly as youth, and you have to take up your stand. It's no longer about the government. It's no longer about Ruto or Mr. Gachagua or the government itself. It's no longer about the John Kelly. Look at them. In the Rio Agreement in 1992, what was stipulated was something called PES, Pay for Ecosystem Services. What that simply means is that if I'm extracting something from the ecosystem, even before I get my profit, I should have paid for that service from the ecosystem. Now, this is reverse to what they are telling us right now. After they've destroyed the environment, now they want to pay for it. Yeah, we can name big companies that are playing around with words. It's called bureaucracy. It's called maybe propaganda. Another word you can use it. That, yeah, for example, I'll use a plastic bottle. I saw a full report by a multi-billionaire company. I won't mention the name here. But then their only effort on matters climate change was to change the bottle top.
Wow.
And they state that they've used billions of money to change the bottle top. They've reduced the plastic that is in the bottle. And they are celebrated for that. That is the world we are living in. Youth, we must deviate from that completely. If it is change, the first thing we have to do is stop. Stop immediately what you're doing wrong, and then now start walk. You know, we are walking in the right direction. Yeah, the wrong direction. We're walking in the wrong directions. If I want to go back to the right direction, I have to stop and go back.
And turn back.
Yes, I don't have to continue walking in the wrong direction and then continue stating that, yeah, I'm planning to change. I'm looking forward to it. I'm waiting for my neighbor to call me or give me something in order to change direction. And I feel that is what African and its leadership did not take, is that Africa did not have a stand. Our stand is fully dependent on the West. It's dependent on the European nation. It's dependent on the South Asia. Right? And I always say this, no white man came and polluted Nairobi River, if I can use it as an example. It is the landlords in Kenya who are directing sewage into Nairobi River, the companies that are directing their water effluent into the Nairobi River. I do not need to go all the way to fly to UK and talk to the Prime Minister. I need money to set up a whole commission to clean Nairobi River. No, I just need to call like-minded people in Kenya and tell them, no. This is our natural resource. It belongs to the future generation. We have to do this.
Great.
Yes.
That's a good place to take our first break in this particular conversation, because we need to talk about the need for us to stop and actually look at what we are doing. And I'm glad you're putting Africans, Kenyans on the spot as well.
Yes.
We take a short break. It's getting heated. James Kamau is here and he's not here to play. We take a short break. We'll be right back in a bit.
na mwenzako, fulani amekufanyia jambo fulani, ya yule bwana hana maana yule, mimi nilimfanyia kadhaa, mimi nikamfanyia kadhaa, mimi nikamfanyia kadhaa, itakusaidia na nini wewe? Bali ukianza kuzungumza kutaka kujua wema uliowafanyia watu, Mwenyezi Mungu anakufutia yale mema yote, anayafuta pale. Kwa sababu gani? Wewe unataka kiburi, unataka kuonekana, unataka kushow off kwamba wewe ulikuwa ukisaidia fulani, wewe ulikuwa ukifanya hivi. Wacha iwe ni siri yako.
Ya Nabii salam alayka, ya Rasul salam alayka, ya Habib salam.
One of the factors that we considered when doing a free range is that we need to look at the size of the land. The size of the land that the school has is very little. So that's the reason why we chose on free range. So you can see that the birds are able to move freely within the ranges. Another reason why we chose this is because when you look at it, it is cheaper. When you look at the materials they are using, they are locally available. So that's the main reason why we choose. At the same time, it requires little space.
Lola ni programu inayokupa fursa ya kutizama video zozote pindi tu unapokuwa na nafasi. Hadithi za kukupa motisha, drama, maisha ya vyuo vikuu, teknolojia, masuala ya jamii, kuzuru maeneo tofauti, spoti, burudani na zaidi. Pata programu ya Lola sasa kwenye rununu yako kwa yote unayohitaji.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Mutegi K. Martin.
We are back, and I don't want to waste much time. James Kamau is still here, and he's here to continue giving us information on what we need to digest as far as Africa Climate Summit 2023 is concerned. Back to you, sir. Let's go to the issue of representation. We've talked about how we did not have all the African countries in there. Of course, it is expected that the first conference, a couple of countries will come together, the rest will join later, yes, because a number of countries also are facing various challenges.
True.
But let's talk about the demographic and the ages of the people that were in that particular conference.
Yes.
And we are foreshadowing the future. We are working towards the future. And so what was the representation of the people that were in there? Did we see a representation of the millennials that we represent? Did you see a representation of even the Gen Zs, the younger generation, who are going to be very active in the years to come, yes, as opposed to the older senior citizens who we respect very much? But did we have a proper representation of the young people in that particular conference?
Thank you. Before the African Climate Summit, we had the African Youth Climate Assembly preceded the African Climate Summit, mm-hmm, and the African Climate Week. Mm-hmm. So we had 3 things running at the same time, which at the same time I feel like brought in a lot of confusion and did not collect a lot of information that we received. Mm-hmm. Like the host nation in Kenya, we had only 4 places where we gathered content information from the youth physically, and we understand physical is where you get the real things. Online, we are not very sure of what we get. But then at the same time, they never had an online option. This was the host nation, and we had only 4 points where youth were talking about. If you look at ICA, it had 400 delegates, mm-hmm, who are majorly youth. But then you look at the African Climate Summit, the major delegates were 20,000. And they were not majorly youth. Mm-hmm. These were people from other companies, organizations, companies actually coming and selling their ideas. Those were the people who are coming to talk to us more. A very big leader is the African Development Bank that is doing awesome work, but then, mm-hmm, is it African at the same time? The question, that's a very big question mark I ask myself, because their funding is not from Africa at all. Mm-hmm. So when you look at this demography, there were a lot of women. We had a lot of discussion on matters gender. For the first time in any environmental conference, we had discussions on health. Mm-hmm. In this, on what impact is on the destruction of environment has on our health. No other conference has ever had this. Mm-hmm. So on the demography, we actually be involving all the stakeholders from youth to old, but we need to increase the youth because they are the leaders of today, not tomorrow anymore. The millennials are the leaders of today. So we need to increase on that direction. And I hope going forward to COP28, that is what is going to happen. And actually discussion on not what we are going to do, on what we are doing. We need to discuss what are we doing on the ground. Is it working? Is it not working? Where can we improve? The discussion has to move from what we will do, what we will do. Because if today you ask the citizen of US, I've had the privilege of discussing with citizen, and I ask them from a citizen's point of view, do you think your taxpayers' money should come and help Africa? All citizens say yes. But then are their governments implementing this? Because as citizens, they understand that the benefits they are reaping off is actually destroying something somewhere else, and they need to take care of the destruction. But our leaders, are they doing it? Is it political? Is it politically true or right for them at the moment? So that is where we are, and I feel like our leaders need more inclusion. We need to include more people. We need to include the youth more. We need to bring in the women further than we have. And that is the only solution and the only way we are going to actually win this war.
Amazing. When you talk about these people. Allow me to call them the developed nations.
Yes.
Who are in charge and who take the most blame of the pollution of the environment, which has landed us into trouble as Africa.
Yes.
And when we talk about them, realize they're throwing in money. And when I look at the Nairobi Declaration, they are mentioned, and a lot of responsibility is put on their shoulders.
Yes.
I'm giving you around 3 minutes to 4 minutes to just get into this, to help us understand this Nairobi Declaration and how actually it comes to help Africa as far as climate change is concerned. And in doing that, let's understand this responsibility. Is it something that is far-fetched? Is it something that is possible? Are we able to put these developed nations, who are more powerful than most countries in Africa, to account for what they have done and what they continue to do, most importantly?
Very well. That is awesome. Now in Africa, we contribute only 3% of emissions. We are not well developed, we don't have industries. Even if we have cars, we have them in Nairobi. If you happen to go to Mali, the roads are clear. Now, when you go to South Asia, the China, the UK, the US, these are the production hubs of the world, the India. They are producing a lot of emission. Emission comes from industrialization. The more industrialized you are, the more emissions you actually emit into the environment. So the 97% of emission that is remaining falls on these other nations. But then the impacts are felt on Africa and the global south, that is the Latin Americas. Right? Now, in these declarations, they have actually come and promised us the most money. I'll just take one example. The highest amount of money we have is $4.5 billion from UAE on renewable energy. Now, the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear United Arab Emirates is oil. Nothing else. So they're using oil right now. So they're making money from oil, which is the most expensive commodity we have in the country. You can look at the cost of living. But then now, because they're making profit for it, they're actually returning it to renewable energy, reinvesting it into renewable energy, which is quite smart. But then at the same time, very late in this. But then if you look at this declaration, all it was doing was now giving us financial structures. We do not have financial structures for anything environmental. You cannot insure a tree in this country. You can insure a cow, you can insure a goat, but you cannot insure a tree. So even if you have 5 acres of hash, that is the most productive tree in Kenya right now in motors export, you cannot insure them. Now we need structures like that. So an example of African Development Bank is investing $1 billion on insurance of farmers to insure their crops. So when your crops are eaten by pests and diseases, you are able to reinvest money back. Now, if you look at carbon credits, it's the same structure. How does the money end up here? So if I have 5, we are giving you 5,000 hectares of land as a bare minimum. So if I have 5,000 hectares of land, these forests are taking in carbon. This carbon actually will be paid by the UAE, the people who are destroying the environment. It is just the implementation of the PES, pay for ecosystem services. But then the thing is, it's late. That is the truth of the matter. It is quite late, and I don't think they actually, even in these prices of this money that they're giving us, they're accounting for the time that we have lost. That is something that they're not doing. So where we are right now is still at a promise. We don't have the money. Yeah, I come from the Kikuyu nation, and they say you'd never discuss money you do not have in your pocket. So this is not money that we have. This is money in the pockets of the Western nations. The declaration has not bring something tangible yet. We have to understand this as Africans. And that is why I took this opportunity. I have to tell every youth in Africa that this money is not yet here. This is a promise.
And yet the destruction continues to happen on a daily basis.
Exactly. And that is why I feel like our leadership has failed. What is the solution now? What is that Mama Mboga in Kibera, what is he supposed to do to help fight climate change? And that's why we are here as a millennium environmentalist, where we come with solutions that are simplified to fit the local man, the local African man in this world, in this continent, in this country, and in Nairobi. We have to come up with solutions that don't require a lot of money. If the president tells you, plant 30 trees for your birthday, 30 trees, you multiply it by 100, because a tree seedling costs 100 shillings. That is 3,000 per head. You're a family of 4. That is 12,000. There is no family in Kenya that will invest 12,000 in planting trees if they are not well off. And that is the majority of that is 70% of Kenyans in this nation. Will not be able to invest that. That is somebody's school fees. Yeah, that is somebody's school fees for some time. But then if you come and tell a Kenyan, if you eat an avocado, plant the seed that you've eaten, that is a whole tree. Nobody's telling you to do that. We are coming to tell you that.
Amazing.
We have to start a seed revolution.
Okay.
Every seed you come across, plant it. We talk about seedlings, but then most of our generation do not know that the seedlings come from a seed. As Africans, we have to take that step back. If we plant every seed that we... imagine all avocados in a season, all those seeds are planted. After 5 years, will you be complaining of food insecurity? What about the mangoes?
Allow me to ask, this conversation is getting sweeter and hotter. I think we need to have you back. Yes. But before I let you go, I need you for 30 seconds. You've already started talking about what you're doing in your company.
Yes.
And dealing with millennials, and these are vibrant people who can go everywhere.
Yes.
We have seen industrial revolutions come and go. Okay, we were not there, but we have been told.
We have been told.
Of coal, we have been told of gas at the second revolution, the third one, which involves electronics and nuclear. We're in the fourth revolution of internet and renewable energy.
Yes.
I'm specifically interested in renewable energy, which you have mentioned in this particular conversation.
Yes.
How can you task? I'm glad I put a disclaimer before the conversation. We love to put leaders that we call into this conversation to account as well.
Yes.
How do you, as James, how do you ensure that renewable energy and spaces for innovation are created much more in Africa together with other African leaders? What are you going to do, and how can we be able to push this agenda together?
Thank you very much. We have thought of this, and we have actually implemented it in our own way. No resources, no capital investment in this. We've started something called Hummingbird Awards. Hummingbird Awards is a platform for youth or individual youth or organizations to come and showcase their ideas. And on matters of renewable energy, we've had a person called Chris Kirubi come up with an innovation that is going to change the world. I am sure it is not held on right now because of the investment. He's a scientist in his own. He has created a product called Tijon, a catalyst that ensures complete combustion of petroleum or diesel in any form of engine. Now that means that your car will not produce no more soot. You will not contribute to emissions. You only produce water because your fuel is completely combusted. If your fuel is completely combusted, meaning the fuel that you need to cover distance A to B reduces by 15 to 19%. We have youth like in Kenya who have invented that in 2023. Where is their support? That is the biggest question. I ask people, where is their support? Where is the direction? Who do they approach? Who is it in our government that I can come and tell you, I have created this, and I'm sure you're going to protect me and my creation to the end and make sure that resources come to me. In Africa, we have a lot of fear that even such an innovation, you have to patent it, you have to ensure, and this requires a lot of resources, which we don't have as youth. So it's one of the things that we can invest in matters of renewable energy, just an example that the youth are very much capable.
Amazing. I love that you ended it with a question.
Yes.
And it's a good way to end with questions and to put people into account. It leaves people thinking about it. Thank you so much. I wish we had more time, but this is what we have tonight. I'm sure we'll have you back pretty soon to discuss even the heavier points that we've not been able to discuss tonight. Thank you so much for joining us in this particular conversation tonight.
Yes.
It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you very much for hosting me.
Great.
A nice time.
All right, we now take we get to the end of this particular conversation with James Kamau, who is CEO of the Millennial Environmentalist, giving us information. Let's digest this information. Let's make sure that we see the Africa that we want and push the agenda until we have a better Africa as far as climate change is concerned. We take a very short break. We'll be coming back in a bit. Welcome back. Now, the fisheries activities in Malindi Sub-County has received a major boost after the national and Kilifi County governments donated 18 engine-propelled boats for use in offshore fishing. Elsewhere in Embu County, the county government has provided dairy farmers with 2 milk coolers to help boost farmers. Here's Charles Kirubi with the county wrap.
In a determined effort to elevate the performance of the fisheries in the coast region, the national government and the Kilifi County government have officially launched a fleet of modern boats. While presiding over the launch, Kilifi County Governor Gideon Mungaro stated that the local fisherfolk could be able to venture into deep seas, thus improve fish landing.
Utekelezaji wa mradi wa KEBSET unakusudia kuongeza usimamizi wa uvuvi katika eneo la pwani na maendeleo ya kijamii na kiuchumi katika sekta ya uvuvi.
Elsewhere, maize traders in Esebania, Kuria, Migori County are lamenting over low maize prices after the bumper harvesting season. The Kuria traders and farmers state that the prices of the commodity have fallen drastically and are seeking the government to intervene, citing that the price drops has affected normal business along the Tanzanian border.
Lakini baada ya mwezi mmoja wakulima wamevuna chakula, haso wakulima wa Kuria, tumeshangaa mahindi bei imeshuka. Kilo moja ilikuwa inatoka shilingi 62, 63 hadi 65, inachezea hapo. Lakini sisi tunashangazwa wakulima baada ya kuvuna tu kwa huu muda wa mwezi mmoja uliopita, bei imeshuka mpaka sasa hivi mahindi ni shilingi 40, 42, 43, 45. Kwa hiyo sisi tulikuwa na kilio kimoja kama wakulima wa Migori kwamba serikali iweze kuangazia haya hizi changamoto ambazo zinatukumba. Hii bei mara inapanda mara inashuka kwa sababu sisi wakulima tunaumia.
In Embu County, Burugo Dairy Farmers Cooperative Society in Manyata constituency have been awarded 2 500 liters milk cooler worth over 19 million Kenya shillings from the National Agricultural and Rural Inclusive Growth Project. While commissioning the coolers, Embu County Governor Cecily Mbarira noted the station will uptake more milk from farmers and contribute to the overall growth of the cooperative and improve profits.
Ambapo tumeweza kununua coolers 2 ambazo kila kula ni ya 500,000 liters kwa sababu wako na maziwa mingi sana. They are able to do up to 19,000 liters per day, but vile tumewaongezea because they already have 11,000 liters za kula, tumewaongezea 10 so they are 21,000. Kwa hivyo wataweza sasa kupata mahali ya kuweka maziwa yao na waweze kuuza mahali wanataka.
The donation of the coolers is expected to mop up more milk from farmers and minimize spoilage while ensuring the quality of milk is maintained till delivery to the market. Charles Kirubi, KUTV.
And in our business news, Kenyan citizens working abroad may soon be required to contribute to the Kenya Migrant Workers Welfare Fund, a fund proposed by the Ministry of Labour with the aim to benefit the workers in the form of relief support. Meanwhile, allocations to the national government CDF fund may be in the near future be increased from the current 2.5 of the total national revenue to 3.5 if suggestions made by the NGCDF board nominees are to be heeded to.
all Kenyan citizens working overseas may be required to contribute to a government-mandated scheme known as the Kenya Migrant Workers Welfare Fund that aims at supporting workers abroad. If the suggestion made by the Ministry of Labour is given a green light, the scheme is expected to offer aid to migrant workers in the form of relief support, disability benefit, medical assistance, and survivor benefits for the families in case of a worker's demise. Kenyans working abroad will be obliged to register for the scheme before they depart the country. A section of the NGCDF board nominees are advocating for the increase of the CDF fund allocation from 2.5% to 3.5% of the total national revenue. While appearing before the National Assembly Constituency Development Fund Committee, the nominees have emphasized that despite receiving a relatively small portion of the national revenue, MPs have efficiently executed numerous highly visible projects using the allocated funds. And in the tea sector, directors of 71 KTDA managed tea factories will review annual accounts of the 2022-2023 financial year before announcing final payments to the farmers. In January, KTDA distributed 5.5 billion shillings with 2.8 billion shillings for December leaf deliveries and 2.7 billion shillings as bonuses, benefiting farmers with 5 to 10 Kenyan shillings packages delivered in the last 6 months of the previous year. Yvonne Kemuma, KUTV.
While delegates gathered in Kenya for the inaugural African Climate Summit seeking ways to combat the effects of climate change, activists screened films illustrating the impacts of global warming in Africa and calling for climate justice for the continent. The activists put up an outdoor film screening in the Nairobi CBD, an activity that was open for everyone.
It's evening in Nairobi, and as the day's activities conclude at the Africa Climate Summit venue, another event is getting underway in the city's center. Climate activists and filmmakers have organized public screenings of climate films from across Africa to illustrate the impact of climate change on the continent and its people. Ken Kigunda is communications manager at Climate Story Lab Africa, one of the exhibition's organizers.
We thought, how do we then engage the common person or every other person who is concerned about climate into this conversation that are already going at the African Climate Summit? And we thought the best way to do this is through storytelling. And films have powerful impact in terms of how they communicate to people.
The 5-day event, dubbed Cinema Tao Swahili for Cinema in the City, aims to screen at least 9 different films about impacts of climate change to African communities during Africa Climate Week, which ends Friday. One is Thank You for the Rain, released in 2017. The Kenya-based film shows how climate change is affecting rural farmers in semi-arid Kitui County. The audience, which included summit delegates, welcomed the initiative. Reisla Vroven, an exchange program student at the University of Nairobi, attended the screening.
This is really nice. It makes stories very accessible. It's very cozy to sit in the city and watch films. And since it's also climate themed with the Climate Summit, it's really nice to be here at this point, at this moment, and to see this happening.
For Doreen Chepkirui, a delegate at the Africa Climate Summit, the film is a new experience.
For me, it's the first time seeing a film like about climate change, and it's a very creative way. The way I've said, it's a very creative way because people see the real impact.
More than 10,000 delegates are attending the Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi. Organizers of Cinema Tao say they hope to inspire citizens to action on climate issues.
They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So by watching these pictures on movies, moving images, and listening to the words, and seeing the actions that people are taking, you become an activist yourself. So we know for sure that films are the best mediums to use for whatever change that you want to see happening.
At least 15 heads of African states are among the delegates gathered in Nairobi for the inaugural Africa Climate Summit, seeking ways to combat the effects of climate change on the continent. And Cinema Tao is also helping to educate the public on the climate change issues that Africa faces. Juma Majanga, VOA News, Nairobi.
Welcome back. We're now to sports news, where the national men's football team Harambee Stars is set to jet back to the country after a fruitful outing in a friendly match against Qatar. Kenyans residing in Qatar were treated to an epic friendly match as Engine Ferrat Church put a masterclass performance to sink the 2022 World Cup hosts Qatar 2-1 at the Al Janoubi Stadium in Doha. Defender Joseph Okumu fired Kenya ahead in the 20th minute with a superb header from a corner kick before Qatar's captain Hassan Al Haidoz equalized via penalty kick. However, Harambee Stars keeper Michael Olunga provided a sublime assist for a super sub Amos Nondi to score in the 90th minute to put the game out of Qatar's reach. And the 2023 Rugby World Cup kicks off tonight with a bang as host France take on perennial favourites New Zealand at the Saint Denis Stadium in Paris. The New Zealand coach Ian Foster has said that France, popularly known as Les Bleus, is a tough team to face, but his players are well prepared for the tournament, while Rafael Ibanez and France head coach has asked all fans to turn up in large numbers to support his players. The match will kick off at 10:15 p.m. East African time. All right, we come to the close of our conversation tonight right here on KUTV Primetime News. A conversation that has taken approximately an hour of information of what has been happening in the country and beyond our borders. Be sure to join the rest of our team tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Mizizi Weekend will be joining and will be coming to you live from wherever you will be watching us from. And at 9 p.m. Weekend Live will be on air to make sure you continue to get information from this particular country, Kenya, and beyond our borders as you seek to see what's happening in our spaces. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Evelyn Langat. My name is Mutegi K. Martin. Good night. God bless.